and welcome to this week's episode of the Sacred Priestess podcast, where I help beautiful awakening women activate their sacred feminine power so that they can find clarity, connection, and confidence in their spiritual healing journey. I am Hayley. Thank you so much for being here today, wherever you are in the world and whatever you are up to. And today we are talking about being on the spiritual path. And even though we're doing that and we're doing all the things, why does life still feel so chaotic? You know, so many women are asking, how can I integrate this spirituality, these feelings of alignment and peace and calm? How can I bring those into everyday life? Because what happens is we tend to feel very separate. Like there's two different versions of us. And part of my awakening, like going back to when I had like a major dark night of the soul about 6 years ago, it was, I really realized through that time that although I was on a spiritual path and I was a Reiki practitioner and a medium and a channeler and all of the things, I was not really living it. I wasn't embodying it. I wasn't grounding it into my reality. And so, I had moments of real deep connection and alignment. I had moments of just feeling really calm and clear and connected, all the things. I know you know what I'm talking about. When I was in meditation, or whether when I was leading people through meditation or a circle, or when I was going to a class of my own where I would be the student and we were doing mediumship or anything like that. And it'd feel really good and you feel super spiritual and super switched on and super enlightened and all the things. But then I'd get back home and reality would kick in, and back in that everyday life, I'd be overthinking, I'd be stressed out, I'd be overwhelmed with 3 kids and kind of looking at the outside for answers, rather than keeping that alignment within me. So there were like 2 versions of me, and you may feel like this at the moment. There are 2 versions of you, one where you sit in meditation, you go to a circle or an online circle, or you go for a walk in the forest and you feel so calm and free and connected and enlightened and fabulous. And then you walk in the door at home or you walk into work and you just get stressed and overwhelmed, or healing starts coming up. Somebody triggers you somewhere. And so I do know that so many people feel like that, feeling great at yoga and then losing it when you walk in the door. And, that's just a natural part of reality. That's a natural part of the way things are. And, I've talked about this a lot before, so you can go back and find other podcasts that where I share my opinion on this. But I honestly think that the 3D, 5D narrative has not helped in that, because what's happened is people are seeing the 3D, which is our reality, it's our humanness, as like a bad thing or like an annoying thing, an unspiritual thing, and seeing the 5D as this thing that we have to get to of, compassion and love, and it's just all love and light. And, it separates us. It separates our humanness and our spirituality. And the whole point of an awakening, the whole point of what's going on this planet, is to remind us that we are spiritual human beings and we need to be integrating all the dimensional frequencies within us. So all of the higher, and when I say higher, it's a human term. So they're not actually any better, but like, number wise higher. When we're looking for all, or when we're working with our dimensional frequencies, we want to be using and bringing in all of them into all the moments of everyday life. We have a first dimensional frequency where we're deeply connected into Gaia, and we have a fourth dimensional frequency which houses a lot of the chaos that goes on within us. It's that power center. It's where our ego is and our karma drama and all of those things. But we've also got, our crown and above, where we're connecting to galactics and higher self and our blueprint and all of those things. So we want to be working with all of these frequencies and bringing them and integrating them into our reality, into the 3D, not separating them. And I think that narrative has not helped people as we've moved along this journey. So yeah, that is really, really important. It's important to be doing this as we do rise into the divine feminine, as we want to start holding ourselves in the new earth timeline, in that beautiful timeline. We want to be holding in those templates. And yeah, that's what we're being called to do, right? If you're here, you're being called to do that. You're being called to connect into that and to be in alignment with that and hold that, not just for yourself, but for everyone. And one of the reasons that I really love working with these beautiful goddesses who have come through to me, these 7 keys that they bring through really help us in whatever moments we're going through to be sure that we are integrating and using what we've learned through our spirituality, using connection to our higher self, using connection to spirit, using connection to Gaia, to Sophia, using connection to the cosmos, to, and of course, these beautiful goddesses, if I didn't say that already, using these things so that as we come up in that moment when we're met with a trigger, a confrontation, we're met with healing coming up, we're met with a decision that needs to be made, we can bring that forward and use that right there in that moment. And I think because spirituality's become a mainstream thing now, and if you're here with me right now, I'm sure you've done so many of the things, and you're probably all across it, and you're watching and listening to people who are channeling galactics, and you've been working on connecting with galactics, you've been working on connecting with the cosmos, with goddesses, with all the things, with doing your, if you're into Reiki or anything healing, you've been doing all of that. And there's so much out there, and there's so many people, because of the way advertising is right now, there's so many people telling you that their way is the one way, and you've got to do this particular thing in this particular way, and that's going to get you connected, which is fine, and they all work, they are all valid. But the problem is that we've forgotten the basics. Everyone's going for the big, awesome, like love and light, exciting, and nobody's really getting back to the basics of grounding and being in the body and being self-aware. And this is what happens, is that again, it's like you end up reaching outside of yourself and go, I'm going to do all these things, and that's going to make me more aligned, and that's going to make me more spiritual, when really the most spiritual thing you can be doing is being self-aware, being present, and being grounded whilst connecting to all of these things. So I'm just going to go over some of these basics, and this isn't a lot of what people want to hear. People want to hear, well, activate this galactic this and da 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 da. And I'm not saying that's not important. And I do that within the mystery school. We work with Goddess Isis, who comes in and gives activations for you for psychic abilities, and we work with Mary Magdalene, who helps activate alignment for you. But it's about bringing all of it together and making sure that you're in alignment with yourself and your intuition. So the things that really align and work for you and your energy, where you're at a particular time, are the right things for you to be working with and bringing forward. And, the keys that these goddesses bring through are just beautiful ways of being. They are ways of being that help you meet yourself where you're at, and that give you guidance on how to meet the situations that are coming up for you, so that you're actually stepping into that alignment with your higher self every moment that you are moving through within your day. So, like I said, these are basic things, you guys, but they're so important. They're not really, I haven't written them down in any particular order, but most of you are probably already doing this. You're already all across this. So in listening to this, I want you to just take a deep breath and cut yourself some slack, because, and I think before I get into these particular 5 things, expectation of ourselves and what we think being spiritual is supposed to look like, maybe have a little bit of a journal on that, or a little bit of a think about that before going into anything else. Like, what is it that you're expecting yourself to feel like, or what does being like spiritual and aligned all the time look like to you? Because it's not about perfection. It's not about waking up in the morning and going, oh, I feel in such love and light, and then you're just in love and light all day. Like, that's not what it's about. It's not what the awakening is bringing. It's not what your soul sort of is here for, and it's not how we grow. And if we want to be moving into this timeline, we have to grow, and we've still got growing to do. But that doesn't mean that everything every day has to be some like furious, full-on hardship of ancestral healing and inner child and all of that kind of thing. When we use spirituality to meet, like I said, with these goddesses, it becomes a way of beingness, so that you're not pulled into that up and down and chaos of the emotional chaos and all the energetic chaos, because we bring in these teachings and use those to move forward. So yeah, just before anything else, just check on what you're expecting from yourself, and if your expectations of yourself and what spirituality is to you is just a little bit too high. So just have a think about that. So the first thing I just want to talk about is self-awareness and having self-awareness, which I'm sure that if you are here, you have. Like, where are your excuses for everything? So, how is it that you're reacting to situations, or in a particular situation, what are you bringing to the situation? Have self-awareness around your limiting beliefs. And just because we gain self-awareness on something doesn't mean we have to like fix it right then and right there. Just having the awareness of, oh geez, like I've noticed I've said that quite a few times this week. I wonder what that's linked to. And you can always just keep it open and ask questions. The more our higher self and our expansion loves more questions. We, like, as humans, we just have this thing within society and the way that we've been programmed to get answers to all the questions. But spirituality and your higher self and this, like I said, the expansion doesn't do that. There's always an open-ended question of, I wonder why that is. I wonder why that is. And keeping that open and the energy flowing. So, you don't have to be going, oh, I've noticed this belief. Where's it coming from? What am I going to do? How do I fix it? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can do that if you want to, if it's in fun, but we don't want to be getting into that, somebody help me fix this problem thing, because it's not a problem. You don't need fixing. It's just energy that's moving and being realized and transmuting. And if we can get into more of that kind of divine feminine perspective, I suppose, of that energy is always moving and transmuting and flowing, and, and we're always accepting that and loving on that, showing compassion to that, and understanding, especially as women, that like we're just so complex in our energy and our emotions and all of the things that are going on. So, yeah, have compassion in yourself in that. But yeah, where are your excuses? And and noticing that. And like I said, I'm sure that if you're here, your self-awareness is quite great. So good for you. Tick, tick, tick. So the next thing is just making sure that every day you are doing your energy maintenance and stepping into alignment as much as you need to. You may have to do it 5 times a day. Like if your workplace is chaotic right now, or if you've got stuff going on at home or with your kids or with family members, you might have to just take a breath and just like bring your energy back into alignment, activate all those pinpoints. I like to just activate, like connecting to my higher self, and then activate and bring it down into my heart, bring it down into my room, send it down into Gaia, and just like noticing if my energy is off tilt, and bringing all of that back together. Sometimes if we are going through chaotic things, we do have to do that quite a few times a day, and that's bringing spirituality into beingness. When we can go, oh, I'm getting a little bit out of alignment, like I'm getting a bit caught up in this drama. Let me take a breath. Let me come back in. Let me align. That is moving spiritually through your day. It's not that complicated as we all make it, I don't think. So yeah, and making sure that Again, a couple of times a day, depending on if you're in a full-on situation right now. Like I said, you might have to do it 3 or 4 times a day, but just making sure you're doing that energy clearing. So however you do that, whatever that looks like to you, whether you use the beautiful energy of Gaia to clear and cleanse your aura, whether you use singing bowls or drums, or whether you call in your guides or your higher self, dragons, to just pull out all of the stuff that doesn't belong to you, pull out any distortion, so that you're constantly clearing out and starting from a nice space. So the next thing is a thing that people really don't like, and it's your physical health. You need to be, we've got that hierarchy of needs, and if you're not drinking enough water, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not fueling your body well, you're going to struggle on a physical 3D level. Like, no matter how much energetic healing we do for our body, at the end of the day, we are physical beings, very, very physical beings, in what we're living in. And so we need to look after that. And if you're really tired, you are probably going to spiral a bit more, because your brain and your emotional state can't really hold it together. Like, I am so emotional when I am tired. Like, if I haven't had enough sleep, I just wake up and want to start crying because I'm so tired. Like, and I find myself, like, I spiral, like my mental capacity is not great. Like my mind chatter gets so full on when I'm really tired. And I have to stop and breathe and go, "You're tired, Hayley. Please calm your mind, take a breath. It's okay." And again, that's spiritual living. That's bringing the spirituality into everyday life, self-awareness, doing the things you need to do to clear it out, and bringing yourself back into balance. But yeah, physical health is really important in that. So the next thing is making sure we are connected to that intuition. I have podcasts all over the place on this, so I'm not going to stay here forever because I know I can, well, maybe I'm not going to actually say it because I can get on a soapbox about this. I guarantee you, if you are here, you have intuition. Everybody has intuition. It is our inner compass. It is not a party trick to only be used by mediums and channelers and all of the things. It is an inner compass that is a direct channel to your higher self, to your guides, to bring through the things that you are supposed to be doing. It is there to lead you intuitively into what you are actually here to do and experience. It's there to help you make your way through tricky situations that you might be in right now, to help you make decisions. Aligning with that heart aligns with the higher self, aligns with your intuition, activating that womb wisdom, stepping into that womb power will really align you with your intuition. And, the thing is with intuition is that we think of intuition and guide connection as having to like see the guides and feel the guides and do all the things. But if you seriously, and again, I've been on this soapbox before, but just give me 2 minutes. If you really want to strengthen your intuition, you need to be using it in just normal, average, everyday, guiding you through your day life, because that's what your intuition is there for. Like I just said, your intuition is there to guide you. It's an inner compass to lead you on your right path. And so I'm going to give you a very quick example. I was at the forest the other day, and it was a bit cloudy outside. It was a bit grey. And I got out the car and I was like, and my intuition went, "Hayley, get your umbrella." And I was like, "No, it'll be fine. Like, the clouds are all the way over there and it's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'll make it around. It's fine." I walked about 100 meters, maybe 200 meters, and my intuition was like, "Hayley, go back to the car and get the umbrella." And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to turn around and walk back." So I turned around to the car, got the umbrella. 20 minutes in, it was torrential downpour. I'm talking like monsoon, big, massive chunks of rain that was just torrential. And if I hadn't have listened to my intuition and I hadn't have gone back and got that umbrella, I would have been even sicker than I already was at the time, because I'm still trying to get off this cold off me. But yeah, and I would have been stuck in that. And those are the moments where your intuition grows stronger, because in those moments you gain confidence. In those moments, you go, oh, I went back and got my umbrella and it rained, right? And then you have validation. And so the more you're using intuition during your day and you're being validated, the more confidence you get in your intuition. So the more you start listening to it, and so on and so forth. So, if you want to be strengthening your intuition, listen to it all the time. And if, even things like, if you're like, well, that's great, but like, I don't kind of feel like I really have those things happen, then ask your intuition, hey, what do I want for lunch? What does my body want for lunch? What does my body want for, how does my body want to move today? And listen to that. I don't know, there's a million examples I could give, but I'm going to run out of time. So I won't do that right now. But you get what I'm saying. And my brain's not working very well because, like I said, I'm still coming off the back of a cold. But you know what I'm saying. So the last thing I just want to touch on is self-love and self-compassion. And like I was saying before, the expectation that we have on ourselves to be moving through days perfectly with nothing going wrong and everything going smoothly. And we do have days, sometimes we have even a month or so like that, where we're just kind of in that vibe. But it's not going to be like that all the time. And in the mystery school, we work with Aphrodite, who just brings us so much connection to self-love and self-compassion. And it's such a beautiful, divine feminine space to be in when we are truly, truly loving on ourselves, when we allow ourselves to hold boundaries, when we allow ourselves to listen to every fiber of our being and, really honor that. And so stepping into more self-love and compassion, like if you do feel yourself spiral, or you do have a day where you lose it, or a moment where you think you've lost the plot and you've yelled at somebody, or, whatever it is, to just really let yourself off the hook. And again, I think this is something in the spiritual community, that because we're being spiritual, that like we can't make mistakes, or we can't have a spiral, or we can't lose our shit sometimes. But part of being spiritual is being honest, radically honest with your emotions. And if it means that you've got to crack the shits, then do it. And allow yourself to be in that and transmute that and express that. Part of the divine feminine is ultimate truthful expression. And if you need to yell, then yell. Right? So yeah, just really stepping into that self-love and compassion. And again, just checking your expectations. What do you expect yourself to be like? What do you expect yourself to be like? How do you expect yourself to be kind of showing spirituality? So I hope that was helpful, you guys. Please let me know in the comments. Please let me know like intuitive hits that you've had when you've been like, oh my God, like said this and I did this and it was right. Drop that in the comments. Please don't forget to follow. I'm going to pop the wait list for my Sacred Priestess Inner Circle. So if you would like to work with the goddesses more, if you would like to come together with like-minded women in circle and learn more about just spirituality, open up more to your intuition with intuitive exercises, healing meditations, connection meditations. We work with connecting to the dragons, connecting to fairies, guides, and obviously really deeply activating womb wisdom and your sacred feminine power, so that we can do this. We can bring spirituality into everyday life. We can move and live from direct and complete alignment with higher self, and move through this beautiful awakening that we're going through, this transition that we're going through, both individually and collectively, with more clarity, connection, and confidence. Have the most amazing day. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. All right. Bye.